Welcome to Doc Lanew's Story Time. Today's short story is A New Life by our very own Cool Clear Water. It's a story of our main character who is going through surgery so she can fit in. Now, let's get to the story. A New Life by Cool Clear Water. Lost, confused, Jenny's thoughts wobbled their way toward wakefulness. They didn't quite make it. Where? One thought struggled. What? Another thought spoke, instantly regretting it. Her throat was raw, mouth filled with bitterness, so foul that it assaulted her sense of smell after bludgeoning taste into submission. Everything hurt, everywhere. She wrenched her stomach, spilling its meager contents into her mouth and onto her chin and cheeks, and felt hands pulling her onto her side. Someone wiped her face. The cloth was cool and damp. A coolness gripped her chest from the inside and spread as something was injected into her IV. The pain receded, and she found a moment of near clarity before weariness washed over her. Her mind reached out to explore her body, reaching for the source of the pain, and found a body that wasn't quite hers. Is that a final thought against the gray blur of the world? The fight was lost, and again she slept. When next she woke, the confusion and nausea were gone. I hate anesthesia, Jenny thought while deciding whether she wanted to open her eyes or just try and return to a dream that was even now fleeing her awareness, leaving hints of wonder in its wake. 4 years of surgeries and recovery. It was almost over now. 4 years of pain. Learning how to stand, how to move, how to walk, how to talk. Was it worth it? Probably not, Jenny thought, then instantly clamped down till a plague of doubts to keep it from spreading, overwhelming her. Would it be worth it? Jenny fought her way through, hopefully and maybe trying to find a yes. She had been so sure. This isn't going to go away, came a rich, thickly accented voice from Jack's office door. Jack sighed, closed the printed report they had been trying desperately to concentrate on, and placed it on top of the growing stack of others in their plain soft bindings, with bold, classified, and other such stamps being the only markings on their covers. Hello, Solomon, Jack said, turning to the gray-clad figure that towered in the doorway, hunched just enough to keep his head from making contact with the high office ceiling. Solomon was an alien. Jack's office had been specially made to accommodate the people of Solomon's world, should such accommodation be needed. A typical government fashion, no expense had been spared in ensuring that the average individual of Solomon's species would be careful, and also in typical government fashion, no effort was made to discover just how far from average that species varied in things such as weight and, more to the point, height. Solomon smiled. Jack managed not to shudder. Solomon was in general shape close enough to a normal person for Jack to have gotten used to the appearance in the years they had been working together. But there was something about those teeth. They still gave him pause. He was grateful for the fact it was not for the nature of the interruption. The subject matter of Solomon's this had been the sole topic of his mind for days. Solomon was correct. No matter how forceful his mental "leave me alone," there it remained, leering at him and making rude noises. Solomon took two long strides into the office and folded himself into the custom chair that was almost large enough for his lanky frame. "I know," Jack said, rubbing his sore, sleep-deprived eyes with the heels of his hands. "Jeannie needs this. Well, maybe not this, but something." Solomon rumbled in that was for him a high falsetto, struggling with the attempt to certain sounds that were forever beyond the limits of his alien anatomy. "At least hear her out before making a decision. You know she can never have a normal life here." Judy was eating an early lunch when she was caught off guard by the sound of the front door. "Jeannie," her father called from the entry. "I'm in here," Jeannie called back, wiping tears from her face. Jeannie got up from the table to greet her father, leaning down to hug him as he came into the kitchen. Jack held his daughter's hug, his fears about the coming conversations turning to resolve as he felt the dampness from her tears on the front of her shirt against his cheeks. Jack reached up to pet the side of her head. "I'm sorry, sweetheart. I knew this was coming. I should have." Jenny cut him off, hugging him tighter. "It's okay. I shouldn't have just dumped it on you like that." With a last loving mutual squeeze and nuzzle, they separated and sat at the table. Jack was tall. Jenny much more so. Genetics had cursed her with multiple double recessive traits that had isolated her in nearly all but her father, doctors, and Solomon. Her father's love had blessed her with safety, comfort, and as close as to normal life as possible. It was in serendipity, though, that what had granted her hope. After the loss of her mother, Jack has been given leave to bring Jenny to work with him before she could even walk, and Jenny could not remember a time when she had not known the giant Solomon. He wasn't an alien to her, even though he towered over her as much, if not more, than she loomed over everyone she had met since she was a child. Solomon was family, so much so that in her world, her father was Dad and Solomon was Pops. Neighborhood children had either avoided her or taunted her when they held in confidence of numbers and distance. School had only made things worse to the point where she took classes from home. As she grew older, Jenny broke down when she realized that she was avoiding mirrors, shunning herself as she herself had been rejected. Then 2 years ago, Jenny had leapt to the chance to see Solomon's world for herself and fell in love with its beauty. The cities and the cultures held no allure for her as they did for her father. It was the life. Jenny had always loved nature and was well on her way to a degree in zoology. It was an entire world of fascinating new plants and animals, familiar enough to be placed in broad categories of recognition, with variety of ranging from mildly quirky to the ethereally exotic. Jenny wanted this more than she had ever wanted anything before. Everything had changed. She had hoped, and more importantly, she had planned. Father and daughter sat across from each other in silence, neither knowing how to begin. "You don't have to do this." It was Jack that broke the ice. "The agency is willing to build you a lab." Jenny sighed, swallowed, and reached across the table to take her father's hands. Tears welled up in her eyes as she found these words that she had rehearsed 1,000 times. "I'm here for a reason. I am what I am for a reason." Jenny took a deep breath and plunged ahead. "You know that I can never fit in here, but I might be able to fit in there, at least enough to remain unnoticed." What she said was true. Her size that left bespoke clothing as her only option here placed her into the smaller end of the range for what was normal on Solomon's world. The clothes she was wearing now were a gift from their alien friend, deformities that made most people recoil when they first saw her lent weight to the next, most difficult part of the conversation. "I can hide my feet and ears. I can wear braces so that I stand like them." Jenny paused. So at that, was that how she thought of Solomon? Solomon, who was one of them? No, Solomon was Solomon. Jenny tried to regain her momentum. "Hair removal is not a big deal. There is nothing that I would have to change that is any different than what is normally done in reconstructive and plastic surgery. It would be just going in the other direction." Jack studied his daughter's face. She had put far more thought into this than he had expected. You've been that you've seen what the females look like. How could you?" Jenny cut him off with an exasperated, "Dad, I can wear prosthetics. They don't have to be functional." Jenny gripped his hands harder. "Can we at least see if it's possible?" Months of research and consultation followed. Major issues such as differences in skeletal structure and muscle placement gave way to ideas and later to tentative designs for prosthetics, both major and minor, along with smaller cosmetic changes, such as reshaping her facial features until, with final agreement from the doctors, they were satisfied they had a plan that would work. It was the alien Solomon to whom they looked for final approval of the plan. He was the only one qualified to say either yea or nay, to answer the question at hand. Jack held his daughter close, her chin resting on top of his head. "Are you sure?" "Yes." "Even the tail?" "Yes." "We can't undo this." "I know." Jenny opened her eyes and searched for the nurse's call button, giving up on sleep. It was only a few minutes before a pair of nurses entered, turning on the room's lights and giving her a slightly forced but cheerful, "You're up! How are you feeling?" coupled with the equally forced smiles. Jenny didn't hold it against them. One of the highest hurdles to get over had been convincing the various medical staff involved with the changes being wrought upon her body were not technically against the do no harm tendencies of their trade. Convinced was probably not the right word, though the government had been convinced by Jack and Solomon that this would be a good thing, that it would open up great possibilities for the interspecies and interplanetary relations. For the doctors, they coerced might be a better word for how they were brought on board. Jenny knew that threatened, bribed, and in one case, blackmail were also the list of better words. 3 weeks later, the final bandages were removed. Her father and Solomon had left for Solomon's home world before she went into surgery the last time. At first, she had been disappointed. Now she was thankful for the time and privacy it was allowing her to adjust. All of the structural work that was possible had been completed almost a year ago. This surgery was the last of the cosmetic changes. Jenny sat in the large bathroom using the mirror on the wall and one held in her hand to examine the results. This was going to take some getting used to. Another week and the prosthetics were ready. They had opted for a bodysuit that covered her from shoulders to just below her knees, and which would easily be hidden by clothes. It reshaped her posture, lent the appearance of the alien musculature, as well as holding the prosthetics in place that were needed to complete the picture of the bits of an alien anatomy that she did not possess. It was a strange feel of the oversized alien dentures worn over her own teeth that oddly gave her the most initial discomfort. Jenny had not been ready for the full effect. The word freak had long since lost any emotional baggage for her, but that she was in the mirror now was a monster. Jenny flinched at the word. She couldn't help it. That was what she saw. She had never thought of Solomon that way. She had known Solomon years before the world even became part of her vocabulary. There was a beautiful horror of what she saw, a parody mix of normal alien and animal features. It was the animal portions accomplished by the prosthetics and actually bothered her, and she was glad that they were removable by themselves. Without them, she had the appearance of an alien child, and this was somehow less disturbing. Everything looked off, but not necessarily wrong. Alien females were quite different in appearance from males, and she had only ever known a male for reference. Yet another week, and Jenny stood, nervous, waiting for her father and then the trip to her father's office for Solomon. This was the big reveal. There was a soft knock at the door, followed by the father's voice. "Jenny? May I come in?" "I'm ready," Jenny lied. Jack pushed the door open and slipped into the room. He had spent decades working around the aliens, but wasn't sure how he would react. This is his daughter, the one person in this world that he loves more than any other. If she can live a normal life, even on another world, he wants that for her. Jack realized his eyes were on the floor and looked up and knew this was right. The person standing in front of him, his daughter. He nodded, unable to speak, as tears welled in his eyes. She was beautiful. She has always been beautiful to him. 100 hugs, and 2 hours later they stood outside of Jack's office. They had decided that it would be best, or at least more fun, for Jenny to go in first, alone. Jenny opened the door and greeted Solomon with a slightly shaky, "Well, Pops, what do you think?" After a pause, Solomon stood up from the chair where he had been waiting and reached out to take her hand. "I think you will not have any trouble at all passing for a human." The end. Thank you for watching. If you have any short stories, poems, music, or original art that you would like to share on this channel, please email me at j.lanu.stories@gmail.com. You can watch a previous episode by clicking on the icon on the right. You can subscribe by clicking on the icon on the left. And please, as always, like, share, and comment about the video. Until next time, take care of yourself.